Evening, everyone, and welcome to DarkWoods Paranormal, where every haunted destination begins with a road, a story, and the people brave enough to explore the unknown. I, of course, am your very humble and gracious host, Gabriel Von Graves, investigator, storyteller, and your guide into the mysteries that lie beyond the ordinary. Throughout my life, I've experienced encounters that challenged everything I thought I knew about reality. From unexplained apparitions to haunted locations to personal experiences that continue to shape my search for answers, my journey has never been about proving the paranormal exists. It has been about understanding why these experiences has happened and what they might teach us about ourselves, our world, and what may lie just beyond. Joining me, as always, is my producer and co-host Raven Knight. Raven, how you doing?
I am fabulous. Thank you for asking.
Fabulous. Okay.
I do it sing songy now, and then you have to
Yes.
repeat. It's great.
Well, Raven works tirelessly behind the scenes, helping bring these conversations to life and helping Darkwoods Paranormal continue its mission of exploring strange places, unusual experiences, and the remarkable people connected to them, like the young lady we're going to talk to today. Darkwoods Paranormal is proud to be produced by Unbox Media LLC, where imagination has no limits and every story deserves a voice. From podcast production and media consulting to content creation and storytelling, Unbox Meeting helps creators bring their vision to life. Isn't that right, Raven?
That's right.
And don't forget, you can find Dark Woods Paranormal streaming soon on Dark Realm TV, available on Roku, Fire TV, and other streaming platforms, bringing paranormal programming and supernatural entertainment directly to viewers around the world. Now, are you ready, Raven?
I'm ready. I'm so ready.
Okay. Tonight's guest is someone who has spent years exploring the strange, the unexplained, and the mysterious that continue to capitate paranormal enthusiasts. Capitate.
And yeah, I don't know what the
What?
word was, Gabriel.
Are you decapitating people? That's fantastic. Paranormal enthusiasts everywhere. Our guest is DeeDee Moon Flyer, host of the Twilight Tonic Paranormal Podcast, a show that has been running since 2021 and has featured hundreds of episodes exploring paranormal phenomenon, spiritual experiences, UFO, cryptids, psychic phenomenon, folklore, and many mysteries that continue to challenge controversial understanding. Raised to an environment that encouraged curiosity and open-minded exploration, DeeDee was exposed to a wide range of spiritual and metaphysical concepts from an early age. I think that's very, very important. Throughout her
Mhm.
life, she experienced numerous unexplained events that fueled her desire to seek answers after retiring from a successful professional career. She is not old enough to be retired, but whatever. She begins focusing more deeply on those experiences and embark on personal journey to better understand the phenomenon she had encountered. Through her podcast, DeeDee has created a platform, a really good one, by the way, where investigators, mediums, researchers, authors, and truth seekers can come together to share knowledge and perspectives. Her belief that learning and open dialogue are essential tools for understanding the unknown has made Twilight Tonic Paranormal Podcast a perspective voice within paranormal community, and most certainly
Mhm.
is. Tonight, we'll be discussing her journey, the experiences that shaped her path, her work with the Twilight Tonic Paranormal Podcast. Why am I having problems with that one? And some of the fascinating mysteries that continue to inspire her search for answers. So, settle in, dim the lights, and prepare to venture beyond the boundaries of the ordinary. Please join me in welcoming our guest tonight, DeeDee Moon Flyer. Hello!
Hi, guys. How are
Yay!
you? Thank
That
you
was
for
a
having
tough
me
one to
on.
get through. I apologize. I can
It's
usually
okay.
speak a little better, but
We didn't do
I
a
am.
we didn't do a beforehand. Sometimes we would do a let's guess how much Gabriel can get through without messing up competition. And we didn't do it this time, and that's why you stumbled. That's why.
And this is why my self worth diminishes more and more every time.
My man's fine. I'll take it.
She usually gives me a 10% accuracy. I would say at least 11% on this one, which is a whole percentage. So I actually feel pretty accomplished. Thank you.
I was gonna give you 24%.
Shut up.
I know.
I couldn't do it
24.
twice if I wanted to. That's a lot of
No,
stuff.
don't try it again.
No, never. Well, DeeDee, welcome, and we
Thank
are
you
you.
so.
very excited to speak with you again. We were just on your show just a few
Yeah.
10 minutes ago, and we had a fascinating time. I'm very happy that we can actually see you in the person.
Yeah.
You look great, and you lied about retiring, but it's fine. I mean, listen, no one retires at 35. They just don't.
If they're
Oh, I
However,
lucky,
like.
they do. What are
if
you
they're
talking about?
lucky, you are
Yeah.
a lucky person. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. So, welcome
I
to DarkWoods Paranormal. I, of course, am your host, Gabriel Von Graves, and Raven Knight, who you've met. And tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, me? Oh.
No, I mean, we could talk about us too. Nobody wants to hear that, though. They want to hear you.
Well, I started podcasting because I grew up with all of this stuff because of my mother.
Oh, cool.
Yes. Yes, and
Yeah.
I want to hear it. So I know that you had said that you were actually kind of blessed to be raised in this kind of
Hmm.
household, right? Where your
Yeah.
mom, who was a Catholic, was very much like welcoming and showing you some things. But how did that, I guess, how did she do that? Like, what did she show you? How did that shape you then to be interested in the paranormal?
Well, my mother saw something when she was pregnant with me.
Oh,
Um,
Very
she
cool.
lived in New York State. So she was between Pottstown, New York and St. Regis Falls, and she saw a UFO.
Oh.
And she pulled over, and another car pulled over behind her. And they all got out. They looked up. There was no sound. And they just stood there, and then it was gone. And
Hmm.
that kind of started her journey. And ever since I was little, I would see things. And she would always comfort me by saying, "This is part of nature. This is
hmm,
part of life." So, and she would listen. She wouldn't like act like, oh, we had to go to church every Sunday until I was 13. And then she actually took me to, she took me to Edgar Casey's foundation for my 13th birthday that summer because she always wanted to go. And since we already took mediumship meditation classes, things about ufology, things like that, it was just second nature at that point. And I think she was just so open minded and looking for answers to what was going on constantly with
yeah.
her. And so,
So
and
did,
she handled it really beautifully.
so did she believe in I mean, I don't know if you know this, but did she believe in anything like that before she saw the UFO, or that was the thing? Because I mean, when you mention in your bio that
Mhm.
she was, Catholic, and we know that sometimes in the church, like you're not supposed to believe in those kinds of things. But was that her first experience, and that changed her mind and
Perspective.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that changed her mind into exploring deeper.
Hmm.
Her grandfather read tea leaves and talked about the little people in the barns and stuff.
Oh.
And now they were up there in those hills. I mean, they're French Canadian in Seneca. So there was nobody up there when she was pregnant
Hmm.
with me, hardly. So,
Oh.
this just kind of put her over the edge a little bit into trying to figure out what this was all about.
So, do you believe?
Interesting.
Are you a medium? You said went through mediumship. Would you consider yourself a medium?
I don't, because I don't do readings, but I do communicate when I feel like I need to. You won't see me on investigations doing it. I keep it very private and close to
Hmm.
my heart because it can drain you sometimes.
Can.
And
Yeah.
I'm a very much a homebody now. I love to travel, but I don't want to wear myself out. Does that make sense?
It
Now,
does
my
indeed.
brother, before he was ill, was a phenomenal tarot card reader.
Oh,
He's
really?
just absolutely one of the best I've ever seen. And growing up in that and seeing that, my mom did all of that stuff. She read runes,
Mm.
used a spirit board, did pendulum.
Hmm.
So it's just how I grew up, and my experiences were more accepted. So I feel more comfortable talking about them.
That is very interesting, and also good for you. I mean, like we've talked about how, as some people have had that opposite experience where, they
Yeah.
saw things or had things and they were ostracized or, told that they're crazy. But I love that for you, and I love that you were able to grow up in a space where it was welcoming, and you could probably choose. I just assume, I know I shouldn't
Yeah.
assume, but that you could choose whether you wanted to follow that path or not. How important do you think that is for kids and people in general to be able to do that?
I think it's very, very important. When I turned 13, you have a choice in the church whether you go to confirmation or not.
Hmm.
She took us to a Hindu temple, a Buddhist temple, a mosque, and a Wiccan ceremony. And I chose paganism. My brother chose Buddhism at that
Okay.
time. He no longer does Buddhism, but I stuck to what I wanted to do. And I think that's so important because I could have easily chose Catholicism. I have no problems with any religion whatsoever, as long as they are doing things for the better good. And my mom was like that. She's like, as long as you're spiritual and kind,
Mm.
um, I'm all for that.
Well, that's
Aw,
fantastic. So, would you
I like your
consider
mom.
yourself a witch? Because you said you
Yeah.
studied. Okay, you wait. Okay,
I-
so when you and we've had a lot of people on that say they're witches. What does it mean to you? And it means something different to other people. What does it mean to you when you tell people that you're a witch? What does being a
well,
witch mean to you?
I keep it kind of under wraps at work and
Absolutely.
stuff.
Sure.
Um, to me, it's celebrating the god and goddess and earth. It's an earth-based religion, and we're having something special. Summer solstice is coming up.
It
Yeah,
is.
it
Midsummer's
is.
Night, one
Yeah.
of my favorites, and I was married on Halloween.
I
So
like you even
yeah,
more.
Halloween weekend, yeah.
Very cool.
And it was in 1990, but which was rare. But I just find it, I like the magical aspects of it. We do magic and they do prayers. It's the same thing.
Mhm.
And I just enjoy that part. And, my biggest thing is I don't want to make other people frightened of that particular religion. And I think that's why, at work and stuff, I don't wear my pentagram and my crystals and stuff like
Right.
that. I keep it close to my chest, especially
Right.
coming in the Midwest. I just feel like, people are always over the top, I'm a witch, I'm a witch. And I'm like,
Mm. Yeah.
good for you, but I'm keeping it quiet.
So it's the ones that keep it close to their chest, as you mentioned, that actually are witches. The ones that sensationalize it. We call it the Zach Bagans of it all. That's usually the
Yep.
ones that you kind of raise your eyebrows and you're like, okay, they got a black cat that they carry with them. You know. So
Yeah. Yeah.
you said that you do practice magic, and you also said that Christians have prayer, and I do think there's a lot of truth in the matter that they are kind of the same thing. Whether you ask for it and you
Absolutely.
you, you kind of make it happen through,
Mhm.
willing it to happen through a prayer, asking God, right? And I think being able to summon things and create things on a positive level through magic to do the same result. I do see the
Yeah.
connection of it. Um,
Hmm.
being a witch, and everything has a negative to it. Everything does.
Yeah.
Because that's just the universe. You have yin yang. That's just the way it works. Have you interacted with people that practice magic for other reasons?
Oh, good question.
I'm a solitary
Yeah.
witch. And that's mainly why I don't like to get involved in any kind of drama. I was a
Mm.
professional dancer for 35 years and I no longer want that in my life.
Well, I get it. But so you recognize that there's an opposite side of
Oh, of
everything.
course.
So you practice good magic, and I'm
Oh,
assuming
yeah.
that the whole staple, it comes to you times three. If you do something negative, do you believe that actually is what happens? If
Oh,
you s-
yeah.
if you put a spell out and it's negative on somebody, it comes back to you. So I'm assuming, you being the person that you are, when you put positive things out, does it come back to you times three as well?
I like to believe it does. Yeah. I'm very careful what I do. I do nothing for anyone unless they ask me personally, of
Right.
course.
Mhm.
But like I said, I'm pretty quiet about it. And it's usually from my own household, blessings to my house and the land I live on.
Hmm.
And, I love the goddess Bridget, and I have a bird named Freya, so I love that. So I'm kind of like one of those witches that will want to feed you, overfeed you, and have you pet all my animals.
Right.
So
And
I
there's
love
nothing wrong with
those
that. I love
kind.
that.
Yes, I love
and
food and animals.
and give you alcoholic beverage when you're here. That's the
If it's an
kind of witch I
old
am.
I'm
fashioned,
on my
let's call
way.
it a day. Absolutely.
Listen.
Yeah. Yep.
So when you practice magic, are there particular spells that you were surprised worked? Because I'm assuming everything is a practice. Nothing just happens immediately. You have to work at it. Is there spells that you have done that you were surprised that they actually worked, and that's when you're like, wow, there's actually something to this, or was it more of an experience?
I think it's more of an experience
Okay.
for me, more of a feeling. Like I said, I only do the positive.
Right.
So when I'm connecting to the goddess, it's kind of like a warm hug in my house.
Mm.
Hmm.
And I can't burn sage in the house because I have exotic birds, but I spray rose water and sage
Well, it smells
water.
like pot. It's everything smells
It
Yeah,
like
does
pot with
smell
you.
like
I mean, it
my
pot.
really
poor
does.
neighbors, but
Yeah, and
I
outside,
you're like, man, either they're growing it or they're buying it, one of
I
the,
was
but they're
like,
definitely
"Oh,
doing it.
sorry."
So yeah, because it stinks.
No,
It does.
no,
yeah,
it
my
does.
neighbors are funny because I live in Fort Wayne now. I'm from Dayton originally, Dayton,
Oh,
Ohio. And I'm outside like all the time, saging around my
right.
house, and
And
they're
they're like,
all,
well, that's a funny cover story. Why not just smoke it? You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
No
right.
one's
They
buying
probably
it.
think
Yeah, yeah.
they probably think us old ladies out there getting high, but I'm just saging.
Right,
I'm
right.
just saging my
That's a
home,
good cover story. Don't worry about.
I told you
my
that
car.
story. Yeah. I told Gabriel that story. I literally saged my house after we came back from the Sally house, and I didn't know that
Oh
sage smelled
yeah.
like pot. And
Yeah, it's
I loved my
badass.
landlord. He was the greatest, but I lived above my landlord, and I'm pretty sure he, partook at least a few times in his life. But I was like, oh no, it literally smells like this is what all I'm doing
Yeah.
right now is just the whole house.
Yeah.
Once again, it's a beautiful cover story, Raven. That's
Yeah,
great.
thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. It was.
yeah.
Everything gets sage. All my antiques are sage before they come into the
That's
house.
actually a
Nothing's
great
Antiques to
idea.
allowed in
me,
the house.
yeah, antiques to me are very interesting because I can go into antique shops and you can literally feel the energy
Oh,
Yeah.
from
the air
certain
is
elements.
heavy
Yeah,
sometimes. Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
In fact, we
Yeah.
have a couple great stories in our archives of antique shops. People bringing back items and
Yeah.
it having lives of their own. So, I mean, they're very interesting. It's a fascinating subject, I think.
Yeah.
That's why there's no dolls in my house. No,
The dolls are listen, we
I don't
go
like
around
dolls.
all the time.
I don't
Dolls aren't
like
really
dolls.
haunted. I
I
I, I
don't
think
like
dolls
dolls.
are
They teeth and
sensationalized.
shit.
Yeah. Where were we that there's one lady was carrying around dolls and every doll she had was haunted, even though
Galena.
Galena, yeah, no,
Reverend
it was. She
Galena.
put this
Yeah.
suitcase of it, and she walked in. Of course,
Of dolls?
yeah,
All of them.
the promoters, worshipped her. Oh, look at she's here with all the haunted dolls, and they still had like price tags on them from like antique shops and stuff. I love that, great, and people were petting him and walking him around, and I'm like, that's just a doll, you know. There's nothing paranormal about it. But then again,
Mhm.
things possess the energy you give it.
That's
So,
true.
Yeah.
if they weren't haunted when they bought it, they
They were
definitely
now.
made it haunted,
We've
by
had that. We've had that
yeah.
conversation before, and this is a great actually question to ask DeeDee here. That we do think that you could just project all that
Manifest.
energy and like
Yeah.
manifest things. Like, do you think that that could be a possibility for some of the items that people believe are haunted in their home? Is
Oh,
that they
sure.
just suddenly believe
Absolutely.
that, or maybe something happened and then they started to believe that was maybe haunted, but then projected all of that energy there and
Um,
then created
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
We're so much stronger than people realize,
Oh, we are.
spiritually and
Yeah.
mentally. And I think, like, when I find an antique I love, I think about it. Like, there's one thing I want to go get, and I keep telling, there's this urn, and there's a lady on it, and her hair is falling. What is that, Art Nouveau?
Mm-hmm.
And she's beautiful. And in the center is where they put the ashes. It's a circle,
Okay.
and it's always there. And when I picked it up, I wanted it. but my house is under construction all the time because it's an antique.
Right.
So I have no place to put her, but I think about that antique and I'm like, what if I bring her home and this lady could possibly be attached to it because it's a lady.
Mm.
Mhm.
And I went up to the antique people and I go, I think there's ashes still in there. No, there's not. I'm like, but I hear them. Right? There's something in here. That sounds like cat litter. But I
And
think
they're like,
about
no,
that
no, we emptied
antique.
out and threw in the garbage.
Yeah,
It's all empty. Yeah.
and she's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of art.
Hmm.
But there are some things I won't bring home because of that energy.
Mhm.
I have a 1920s vanity. The lady must have been so happy when I touched the wood. It just feels like she always had a good time.
Hmm.
And but when I'm negative, and we all have negative moments,
Absolutely.
my whole house shifts. My
Yeah, it does.
animals shift. My
Yeah.
husband shifts. The whole house energy
Yeah.
shifts.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we
Absolutely.
got to be careful. And it's kind of like when people go on investigations. If they think a demon is there, they're going to manifest something because they never stop. Some people,
Right.
you know.
And that's a very good segue. So, as a witch, if I may, and it sounds
Sure.
horrible saying as a witch, So, as somebody that is very spiritual, um, do you think that it attracts paranormal when you go to investigations or when you go out around?
Oh yeah.
And do you think because you are such a light that you think that the negative always tries to intervene and stifle the light?
Well, that's a good question because I think it's all in your inner strength.
Hmm.
If something's going to come at me, I'm not going to allow them. They cannot. If you say no, they have to listen to you. There's going to be consequences. And of course, I don't believe there's no devil in the craft in
Mhm.
what I do. There's none. But if they're going to come at me, I'm going to shield myself
Mhm.
because I believe that spirits or sometimes what they were in life, especially if they haven't moved on. If they were mean in life, they're going to be mean in spirit if they haven't
Oh.
learned their lesson. And then you have to deal with that. And I have no time for that. I'll zap you out. I'll find somebody if I have to help me get rid of you.
So,
I've only had one negative, and he wasn't really negative spirit in my home that someone else brought in. And I called him the
Mm.
hoodie guy by my bed. So I would go to podcast and I'd look in my bedroom and there'd be a tall hoodie guy. And I'm like, I'll be damned. She brought him in from a bar.
oh,
And
sure.
I was interviewing a medium and my whole house changed. And she goes, is
Hmm.
your brother around? Because I had lost a brother. And I was like, yeah, I think so. She goes, you have a hoodie guy in your bedroom and you need to get rid of him because he likes you. I'm like, what do you mean? Likes me. This thing's watching me sleep. So she gave me
Probably.
one of her prayers and
Hmm.
we went around, we used it. She goes, now make sure you call his grandmother and he'll go away. And I
Hmm.
did that and I haven't had problems since.
Oh, that's
Wow.
So
interesting.
if you're going to come at me, I'm going to find a way to get rid of you.
Right. Well,
And that's
there's
an
laws to
interesting thing.
everything, so
Yeah.
everything has to follow a law of some kind.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
in your experience when it comes to spirits, or at least the energies,
Mhm.
Mhm.
what is a spirit? Is it something that somebody is it somebody, I guess, that has not crossed over, somebody that chose not to cross over? Or is it something different? Is it something that we are manifesting? And how does that work when it comes to your beliefs?
I believe some are people that have died that has not passed over, and some
Hmm.
do choose to be here. And I believe in elementals, earth
Mhm.
spirits as well, the fae. I believe in
Mhm.
all of those. And I also believe that sometimes spirits haven't been human,
Sure,
that
sure.
they're different.
Mhm.
And do I believe in demons? Well, I grew up Catholic, so of course part of me, yeah. But why would they bother with us? We're not that exciting. So, mm, but yeah, I believe all of the above really strongly That's a bird, but yeah.
Your
Hi,
bird.
Maggie.
You said your
Is
bird
my
was gonna make an
baby. Say
appearance.
hi,
Hi,
Mags.
Maggie. How are you?
She's like, what in the hell?
I love she has a southern accent.
Yeah.
Maggie.
Oh, so
You're a good bird.
I know that you also studied some, and I'm probably ufology.
Hmm.
And I would love to dive into some of your theories on UFOs and aliens and those kinds of things. I know that a lot lately we've had the disclosure stuff coming out. We've had,
Very
Yeah.
disappointing, though. There really hasn't been anything
mm,
that I feel has been really substantial. Just
not really,
grainy
but
photographs and
so I,
whatever.
I'm very curious. And I know your mom had her experience with the UFO. So like,
Hmm.
I'm really curious on what your thoughts are when it comes to aliens and UFOs and what you think could be going on in the outer.
Well, I,
Realms.
I I definitely do believe because of my own experiences since childhood up into adulthood. And I do believe I call them intruders
Hmm.
or window knockers because when I was little, my first experience with these beings are, and I say it not out of fear, but I say it because I don't understand what I saw.
Mhm.
But according this is my inner feeling. When I was 4, before my little brother was born, my mom bought me an easel, and I
Hmm.
was in love with that easel. And I remember that easel. And a year before that, Sesame Street came out, and I was in love with Jim Henson's puppets my whole
Yes.
life, even as a little girl. Oh my gosh. And I had to take a nap, and I was not happy about this nap because I wanted to play with my easel and I wanted to draw and I had to take a nap. So I was in bed and I was wide awake, and 3 puppet like beings were in my window. And they were talking about weather patterns, oddly enough. And as a little girl, I'm such a smarty pants, even as a kid, smart as. I was like, how are you up here? Because it was a second floor apartment in Muncie, Indiana. How are you up here? And that's how they would appear to me as a child, as puppets. And they would always knock on the window because that was familiar to me. And the strangest, I had a lot of strange experiences, but one was in Wadsworth, Ohio with my mother. My dad was away. And this was in the 70s, probably, gosh, I was in preschool. And I thought it was a big deal because I got to do dishes and I don't like them to do them now.
Right.
But, it's fun when you're a kid. But the whole house lit up and we were on 1 acre of land in Wadsworth. The whole house lit up. She grabbed me and put me under the windowsill and she told me not to move. And prior to that, we'd always see a man in the corner of her room dressed like a 1940s character. And I would describe this character to my mom and she'd see him too. After the lights dimmed, they came, lit up the house, dimmed, there were helicopters in our yard. And I was more afraid of the helicopters than the light. So these odd experiences throughout childhood make makes me a believer in
Mm.
abductees and alien contact. Now I asked a friend in the military. He's a really good friend, and I asked him about that, and he goes, "I want you to think in dimensions," and that's all he said to me. And these experiences happened all through my 20s really heavily. It would be mathematical equations, weather patterns, and hurry up and have a baby, which I couldn't have children. But the weirdest thing I think during my 20s was actually having the sleep paralysis, which constantly happened in my 20s, and being on a table, seeing my doctor, and my doctor talked monotone to me:
Mhm.
lay down, don't move, uncomfortable. And it was like a female surgery,
Mm.
and it was through my stomach, and it pinched and hurt, and it kept saying, don't move, don't move, and it was monotone. So I had experiences like all through my life, and my husband ended up having an experience with me. about 3 years ago.
Wow.
And we took a walk in a January, those weird warm nights you get sometimes in
Mhm.
February,
Yep.
January. And of course, you want to go on that late night walk
Mhm.
because you won't get that again for months. We
Mm.
went on a walk, and the owls have always fascinated me. I've always had a connection to them as a child and animals in general. We're walking, and there's this owl in the middle of the road, and he's got to be 3 to 4 foot. This is a huge owl.
That
My
is a
husband and
huge
I,
owl. Yeah.
we see him in the distance. Now I'm a Sag. I'm all excited because I'm going to see an owl close up that big. You can't stop me. So I'm walking, and my husband's like, wait, wait. We're walking and we're all excited. And he's like, that's a really weird big owl. We were on the other side of the neighborhood. Neither of us didn't remember walking past the owl. We don't barely remember how we got home.
Mhm.
And we didn't talk about it when we got home. We didn't say a word to each other. It was a few days later when our friend came over, and Andrew's like, do you remember walking past that owl? I'm like, no, I don't. So those are the kind of experiences throughout my life is what makes me want to understand more about what happens. And yeah, I'm thinking about going under hypnosis, and
Oh.
I'm trying to write it down because those had a profound effect on my life.
Yeah.
And
So,
it's
if I may,
fearful.
I love that story, but do you feel that when it comes to aliens, and you said weather patterns, and you said think of other dimensions, when we talked on your podcast about Bigfoot being interdimensional, do you think it is just slipping into a different time frame, or do you think it's has a kind of a purpose behind it where they're trying to repopulate either their dimension or just try to make a hybrid? What would your conclusion be if you had to make an assumption?
That's a hard one because I'm afraid of them.
Hmm.
I've been
Mm-hmm.
afraid of them since I was 16 and had the worst experience ever with it.
Yep. They can
Um,
change your mind. They can manipulate time. So it is
mhm.
something that I personally am frightened to
Mm-hmm.
as well. Anything that can manipulate things around you, and they
Yeah,
seem to have a purpose, which means it's thought driven. At least in my perspective, I think that is definitely something to be
yeah.
afraid of.
Well, and then, when as a child, they're more positive experience because whatever it is, they don't want to make you afraid of them.
Yeah.
Right? It's
And I
called
love
conditioning,
puppets.
right?
Yeah, puppets were my comfort. Puppets were like my fun.
Mm.
You put on Jim Henson still, and I'm like, but at 16, it changed. They were no longer the cute things at the window. They were something more. And
Right.
I looked for that thing after the experience I had in New York with my brother. I searched for it. I wanted to know what it was. And, in the 80s, I don't know if you remember this, we wore heavy eyeliner, and I
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
lighter, you know, warm up my eyeliner so it'd be like, and I was taking it off, and I had to go to bed. And my grandparents lived in a small town called Santa Clara. There was a church, a gray Catholic church, right? A gray hotel, a Catholic church, and relatives all around us. And the bald little gray was in the corner of the room when I went to bed.
Mm.
Couldn't move, couldn't do anything. I leaped over my mom. I knocked myself out of the paralysis somehow, leaped over my mom and screamed. And she kind of knew, but she was more interested in comforting me.
Right.
So
Sure.
yeah, I believe they exist. Now, do I know 100% what happened to me? Yes and no, because I don't know if it's dimensional, if it's what people are talking about all the time. Now I think we're in the age of disclosure where we know there's something going on, but we don't know. We're left with few answers and a lot of people having the same darn experiences.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Which
I think
I
we're in the middle of being conditioned.
I think that's
Yeah.
right.
I think things are lot like conspiracies, and I think we're being conditioned to understand the truth a little bit more. The
Yeah.
movies, right? I mean, U.S. government has used producers of movies for centuries to kind of condition the public
Yeah.
because it's a very good format to kind of condition people's thoughts. Just like everything else that we use, TikTok, Facebook, it's all conditioning.
Yeah,
In
of
movies,
course.
were one of the first forms of that. Yeah, I guess you can say radio was too, but movies as a visual, they used a lot of elements to make sure that they can control us because what we see, we do. We are creatures. So
I want to ask. So I'm curious about the owl correlation, right? Because I know that you actually recently had, or maybe it wasn't recently, but you had somebody on your
Oh,
podcast talking about the correlation between owls and UFOs, and I'm curious, what is that? Like, what do you believe? What do other people believe about owls and aliens and UFOs? If people don't know it, I have to before you answer that, I have to say that I've always been terrified of aliens. When I was a kid, I wouldn't watch X Files at all until I was a little bit older, and I realized
yeah.
how attractive Fox Mulder was, and then I watched it. But I was so scared of aliens, and I remember that book that your guest had. That and it just the cover of it really freaked me out.
Yes, yeah.
If you could
what was
just
the movie
Mike
that was
Cloud.
done in Alaska? People were seeing owls, but they were actually aliens. Was that
Yeah.
Close Encounters, was it Close
the
Encounters of the
fourth
Third Time
kind?
or
Yeah,
third or fourth time? Yeah,
yeah. So it is very interesting. And as Raven said, why do you think they used owls?
yeah.
I I think animals are a cover for them, almost like a
Hmm.
screenshot,
Mm,
because they also use other animals, not just
Sure,
owls.
sure.
For me, it was mainly owls because I love birds.
mm,
I own
So
birds. I'm
it was a
around
comforting
birds.
thing.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I remember coming home one time and having a little owl follow me from tree to tree.
Well, that's very
And after
unusual.
dance rehearsal, and I was like, of course, I thought it was great, but a couple days later, I had an experience. I'm like, this is just there's too much of a correlation,
yeah.
and owls we consider very wise and spiritual. So I wonder if that's in their eyes. These beings have eyes that are like the most bizarre things ever. Big almond black eyes. So what
Um,
other animal?
I do think that the human mind, I've had experiences where my mind was showing me one thing. I know it wasn't what I was seeing,
Yeah,
but my mind was
sure.
using whatever it was I was seeing as a protective mechanism so it wouldn't frighten me.
Mhm.
I tell a story every now and then. I had a cleaning company when I was youthful and full of energy. And I would clean a bar in a small town in
Ooh.
Minnesota. And I was mopping the floor one day, and I turned back and I saw these footprints in it. And I looked and it was a cat just coming from the wall. And I knew instantly that it was not a cat. My mind was protecting me. Whatever I was seeing, my mind was so scared that it went jumped into, you're seeing a cat, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
but I know just by seeing it, the cat was off. It wasn't. I just there was something wrong about it, and then all of a sudden the cat walked right through a wall again, and I think the mind is conditioned to protect you. So
Oh,
I've
yeah.
been experiences that you've seen things and you know that they're not what you're seeing, just like that movie and just like you're experienced. So the mind is a fabulous piece of machinery
Mm.
that does a wonderful job of protecting us.
It really does.
And I often wonder too, because they don't speak, you just hear them.
Right?
Mhm.
It's
Telepathic.
so if they know something comforts you and they're able to not use their mouth to talk, I'm sure they
Right.
can project things.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I personally believe that everybody's been visited.
I would
I
agree
don't,
that there are elements to everybody's life that if we studied it, we'd be like, you know what, that sounds a lot like
Well,
this. You know,
some of us have missing time, or like I know when I lived out in the country, I know we saw weird lights,
oh,
up in
yeah,
the
yeah.
sky at the middle of the night, like and you couldn't really explain what they were. Like we knew something something different and something interesting. Like, because you were like, well, I know what a plane looks like. I know what a star looks like. Like, this is neither one of those things. And it just kind of stayed, and then it would move, and then it would do its whole thing. And but, I think a lot of us that do live in the country might, are open to it, would be like, hey, yeah, that could be something interesting where,
I think
Yeah.
that's why I have dogs because, I think in my youth I was conditioned just like you were to have
Mhm.
a healthy fear of things that would come and visit me. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming do you have dogs, Denise?
I have two.
Too.
I have a
So
cat, two birds, two two
do
dogs, and a
have you
cat.
ever seen a different kind of reaction of your pets?
Mhm.
mm,
Can you talk a little bit about that?
My birds are extremely sensitive.
mm,
Okay.
So if it's really funny, if I have a nightmare, they're always in my living room. They're very social. But if I have a nightmare, my birds will feel it and they freak out. If
Hmm.
something walks through the house, they will freak out. The cat is a really good indicator because the cat will actually physically, and me and my husband will feel something. So yeah. And dogs are very sensitive, but when I'm in the sleep paralysis state, the dogs never wake up
Sure.
and I can
wow.
see them. And I've only had them acknowledge when that they hear the knocks on the window. They will acknowledge those from time to time. They'll look at the window. They will not bark though. They will not get aggressive. They will like sit up, look toward the window, and lay back down.
How
Wow.
many knocks is it? When you hear the knocks, is it like a pattern? Is it just one?
Sometimes, well, it's really weird. It usually is knocks of three.
Oh,
But
threes are never good.
Yeah.
keep in mind, I came from very superstitious relatives. My
Yeah.
dad is from Arkansas, Oklahoma area,
Mhm.
up up in those areas.
Uh-huh.
My mom grew up in New York State on the St. Lawrence River in very tiny places where there's nothing. So they're very superstitious.
Mhm.
So when the knocks happen, I'm considering them because of my family history and superstition that is
Mhm.
something recognizable. I do not look out the window. I don't answer the knocks, but I usually know when it's going to happen. I either hear the knocks a few nights before, I feel like I'm being watched,
Mm,
and I hate the feeling of being watched because I can't isolate who's watching me. It's
Mhm.
not like a spirit, when they're there. You
yeah.
can feel it, the electricity. But whatever happens with this, it's a really odd feeling and you don't enjoy it. It's kind of like, oh,
The dread. Yeah.
yeah. And the weird part is I've only seen one identified flying object
Mm.
on 49, and I've never seen lights in the sky or anything, but the object I saw was a triangle.
Hmm.
In a
So,
triangle pattern is a lot that people say when they see
Yeah.
something they can't explain is a pair. So I always wondered, UFOs, to me, they seem kind of sneaky aliens, right?
Mhm.
And
yeah.
because they come to you at night,
Yeah.
you don't hear too many people hearing
Um,
telling
mm,
stories about I was broad daylight, drinking coffee in the morning,
They
and they
come to
came to
you
me,
when
right?
you're most vulnerable is what it
They
is.
do.
Yeah, that's what
So
it
I
is.
always
they're
wondered
not very
why they.
big.
Yeah, I always wondered why they didn't just shut off the lights when everybody says, "Oh, we seen lights." They gotta have just a switch you hit, little incognito switch, just plug it in. So I never understood why everybody says lights.
My mom didn't see lights.
Huh?
It was during the day. She saw a saucer,
Mm,
Oh,
wow.
and she said she saw everything around the saucer, window type things, everything. And she was scared to death. I mean, and the same thing when I was driving. I mean, I was in dance rehearsal mode because when you're choreographing and stuff, your mind, I'm a Sag. I'm always in the physical. I'm always like, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to have them do that. And I'm driving, minding my own business. And this thing just goes over a cornfield. And my heart stopped. I was like, no way. What is that? I hit the pedal to the metal, and it seemed like it took forever to pass that thing. And it folded within itself and disappeared.
Wow.
It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Do you
I
think it
came
was going into a different dimension? It was just kind of your mind was kind of interpreting that, but it was literally just disappearing into a.
I, the only thing I came home, I didn't say anything to my husband for like a week because, just because you're open to stuff doesn't mean you want to admit to
Yeah.
everything.
Well, I think
That's,
you sit there and try to process it. So when you tell
yes.
people about it, you sound cohesive instead of just sounding like a moron. Like, oh, I saw this thing. It was all. So
Yeah.
I think it's natural that people take a second or two to digest what they just saw, so they can vocalize it.
And I can't express to people, I laugh a lot and I kid around a lot, but these experiences are frightening.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
I can't even.
They come they come in without your permission.
And
Yep.
that's, I
I
think, the
mean,
scariest part of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
like you, at least for spirits, we know in the paranormal, like when we're doing some paranormal investigating or whatever, not always, but you can pretty much be like, hey, I'm not in the mood right now, leave me alone, etc. Like there's a different kind of understanding there. And
yeah.
yet for this situation, it doesn't seem like there is. And that is the terrifying part. And the terrifying part that you have no control whatsoever of what's going on, I think,
Yeah.
is that's scarier than anything else. But
Well, I definitely
And
think using the paranormal, and using that as a segue to UFOs, in my mind, at least in my experience, the paranormal, when it happens, it doesn't last long. It's like
yeah,
3, 4 seconds because it takes a lot of energy, right?
it's really
So
quick.
when you watch these shows and you see all this stuff, people are thinking it's happening in hours. It doesn't work like that.
No.
It only works for seconds. But when you deal with the UFOs, there's a buildup to it. There's an energy that lasts,
Yeah.
longer. I believe. I believe that I've had the displeasure of experiencing UFOs in my past, because a lot of things that you're talking about does bring up. I get chills up my spine, and I start wanting to look around, and
Mm.
then I start remembering, sensations, losing time. I remember watching TV as a child in this house that
Mhm.
we grew up, and I spoke about the lady that came from the closet. It was that same house, and I remember watching TV, and all of a sudden, um, it was morning, and I didn't lay down. I was still in a sit up, and I just felt like something was wrong, because I think your body knows when something
Mhm.
wrong just happened. And as you're talking, I'm remembering back to those, and it really is a very scary place to be, being
Yeah.
vulnerable, and not being able to do anything about it,
Yeah.
being controlled like a puppet.
Oh yeah.
And I was going to say too, like if you think about, well, we've talked about this plenty of times on our show, but you know, we've had people that have had some sort of near death experience or something and had
Hmm.
like a lot
The smell
of
of death, yeah.
the paranormal experiences
Hmm.
afterwards, or like once you have a paranormal experience, it almost seems like you're more susceptible to having another paranormal
Hmm.
experience because now you're open to
Yeah.
it, now you've been exposed to it. And then you're talking about like aliens and UFOs. It's probably, and again assuming, which I shouldn't do, but the same thing where you are having this experience and then now you're more susceptible. Or in your case, like your mom had this experience and now all of a sudden it's brought, and now you are having the same kind of experiences. Do you find that to be kind of an accurate?
I kind of do. And I've often wondered too, I'm very dyslexic.
Okay.
So, as a dyslexic child in the 80s and 70s, that was no joyride. Adults were mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
Suck it up,
but
buttercup. Absolutely.
yeah. Oh, yeah. We're Gen X. You know what happened to us.
Mhm.
But the interesting part is, I learned to feel energies around me from that
Mm.
too,
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
because it was a survival thing. And I asked my mom one time. Now, my mom blames it on her seeing a UFO when she was pregnant with me because her other family members also saw them.
Hmm.
But I also blame it on partially survival purposes, is probably why I'm so sensitive.
Yeah.
The visitors, I wonder if, I think we all have been visited personally, but I wonder if you're visited more than once, if it does something to your brain where you're more able to have experiences. And I was raised with a mom that's okay. If you see
Yeah.
a dead person walking down the hallway, that's just part of nature,
Hmm.
Sure.
you know. And in the 80s, I went to school and talked about it, you know. She's like, no, you can't do
No,
that.
don't do that.
You know, so I think the combination maybe of all three
Sure.
is what happened to me. And now, do I make money off of any of my abilities? No, I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in knowing answers
Hmm.
to help me cope with the other stuff.
Sure.
Sleep paralysis sucks.
It
I'm not going to
does.
Not
lie.
fun. No, not fun at
It's
all.
uncomfortable, seeing things come into your room. Uncomfortable. Missing time, not so comfortable.
Yep.
Um, Having dreams about surgeries, uncomfortable.
Nope. Not.
So, I think as human beings, if it is dimensional, I don't know how we're going to control that. If we're in an age of disclosure, which I think we're being prepared, I think we are in the age of disclosure. Remember when it was on the news and it would be a joke?
Yeah.
Right.
Everybody'd be like, yeah, she saw you. Now it's like, UAPs this, UAPs
And no
that.
one bats an eye anymore.
Spielberg came out. I don't know if you saw the movie Disclosure
Not yet.
Day.
Not
No.
yet.
For some reason, I felt like the action scenes were secondary. The message was first.
Hmm.
Right. Well, once again, it's the conditioning. U.S. government have used movies and producers to send out messages before, and there was actually a big piece I was reading about Spielberg meeting with um, the government to actually be able to come up with some of these scenarios that
Mhm.
he showcased. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and the messages in there were it made you sit back and go, "Oh,
Hmm.
whoa." Religion was brought up. Nobody likes to talk about that, how it would change religion. It was
Absolutely.
brought up like 3 times, I think, in the movie.
Wow.
So that
I believe that
fascinated
the
me.
church actually dealt with that too, about how it would affect the belief system.
Yeah.
In being a man of God that I am, I do believe in UFOs. It does kind of cross paths of what I was taught. However, with the experiences that I've experienced and listening to people like yourself go on about experiences, I do believe that there are. I mean, when you die, you're supposed to go to heaven. I do think that there are situations that don't. I do believe that evil comes to you sideways. It comes to you whether in a form of a dead relative, so you're willing to engage with it. And I do think that aliens from either the future, the past, or somewhere else definitely is coming in to manipulate, us. I remember I went to a meeting many years ago, and they were showing pictures and people drawing spacecraft on
Mm,
walls with with the pyramids. So
I
they've been
heard.
around for a while. I think
I really.
they've
Yeah.
changed the path of human nature. In fact, I do believe that we were at some point. I think there's enough evidence to suggest that we were put here to be worker bees, and something happened. And and I think we are kind of a science experiment, and we weren't supposed
gone
to.
wrong.
Kind of. I mean, if you think about it, right? I mean, moving
Yeah.
the pyramids and all that, that wasn't done by human hand. Something intervened. If you look at the pictures that were driven or were written, the human race looked a little different. Than they had people that looked like us, and they called them gods, right?
Mm,
So I do think that our path that we're on now was set for us, and I do think that something happened, and we evolved to something that we weren't supposed to.
yeah, that could be it. And they're
Like
very
cattle,
I know they're
just
curious
just for
about
food,
us.
right?
Well, I was gonna say too, like, okay, so you said that you think we've all been visited.
Mhm.
I want to elaborate a little bit more on that idea. Why do you think that we have all been visited, and how do we know if we've been visited? Because again, I am terrified of aliens. I will go
With
into
that
a dark.
alien poster right behind her.
I know
Whatever.
this
I
one's
know,
not
as
scary.
Mars attacks.
I will
Um,
go into a deep dark basement, but I do not want to go into a spaceship.
this is
So,
how I feel about the paranormal and UFOlogy and stuff. I think we're fascinated or fearful. One, because we don't understand. Two, because something must have happened to make you afraid of that. And I don't truly think, because I can remember some of the experiences I had. I was chosen, or I'm special, or, all of this. I think we're in this together.
mm,
And I think that's an important thing to remember. Um, I find sometimes in this paranormal world, people are like, I do this, and I've had.
yeah,
We're in this together.
Mhm.
We're in it for answers, because it's something we want to understand.
yeah,
Is why I always say that it's like it's something I want to understand, because I am not the only one that has these memories.
Absolutely.
You're not the only one that fears the idea of something just coming into your womb. Whitley Strieber, one of my most favorite, he writes some of my most favorite books. It was no coincidence. I was in Texas and the book fell in my cart when I was 18. I mean, I'm looking at cookbooks. I wasn't looking for an alien book. I love to cook.
right.
I'm a house witch. I love that shit. It His book fell. I looked down. I about peed myself. I'm like, oh, I know that. So there is a reason why we fear things, why we don't understand why we have these experiences. And I'm beginning to believe in my heart that these are human experiences. And
Mm,
these are human experiences because our loved ones, we don't die. We don't die. We go on. And why wouldn't we visit each other? Why wouldn't we calm each other? Why wouldn't there be spirits walking around? Maybe they're afraid to pass over because of what we've been taught on this earth.
Absolutely.
And
The unknown.
yeah, that
yeah,
brings up a point.
Spielberg brought up a great point in the movie. When the nun was on there, the girl had that Bible quote and she goes, of earth, of earth. We are the ones chosen on this planet, not
Mm,
everywhere. That's an interesting thing and an interesting thought, I thought.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well, I love the conversation. It went to a direction I didn't think it would, and no, I like that because, we sensationalize aliens, right? I mean, they're everywhere, and they're fun and they're friendly, but I truly do believe that they're exactly the opposite. They are here for a purpose that doesn't serve us directly.
Yeah.
I believe there's I believe there's more than one race. I really
Yeah.
do.
Yep.
Talking to many people about the subject,
All right.
because I think they're probably like we are. There's probably really sweet ones, that think we're great. And there's probably ones that don't like us. So
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow. Oh,
Well,
okay.
what a what an incredible conversation.
That was actually a really quick hour.
Yeah, as
But
we're starting to wind down, how do people find you? And you
yeah,
have to
talk
come
about
on
this.
again because there's so much more topics we can cover. How do people find you if
You
they're
have an
interested to
amazing
find out more about
podcast.
you? Yeah.
We could totally shout out your podcast because I was listening to it, and there was, like I was saying earlier, the whole thing about the aliens and the
oh
owls, and
yeah, my
whew, what an intriguing subject. I highly recommend it. So yeah, what is your podcast, and how do we find you?
it's Twilight Tonic Paranormal Podcast. You have to put the whole thing in because there's a lot of Twilights out there. And I'm on, Spotify, iTunes, iHearts, SoundCloud is basically my website because it's easier for me. I'm on all the social medias, Facebook because I'm Gen X, of course. I'm on Instagram, but I'm pretty easygoing and pretty easy to get a hold of. So
That's
that's where I'm
fabulous.
at.
Yeah.
Well, a heartfelt thank you to DeeDee Moon Flyer for
Thank
joining
you
us tonight
guys.
and for sharing her experience, insight, and personal journey into the unknown. If you've enjoyed tonight's episode, be sure to check out the Twilight Tonic Paranormal Podcast and support the work DeeDee is doing with the paranormal community. We love that. There's so much more we can dig into. We need to have you back.
Yeah, we
We'd
do.
also like to thank
Anytime.
our thank you. Yeah, we'd also like to thank our sponsors and streaming partner, Dark Realm TV, for helping bring paranormal content to the audience around the world. Dark Woods Paranormal is proudly produced once again by Unbox Media LLC, helping creators, business, and storytellers bring their ideas to life through professional media production and consulting. You can find Dark Woods Paranormal on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, across your favorite podcast platforms. Visit us online at darkwoodsparanormal.com for upcoming guests, investigations, episodes, and more. Until next time, I, of course, and Gabriel Von Graves, that is DeeDee, and Raven Knight. Thank you for watching Darkwoods Paranormal, and remember, the world is full of mysteries. Some are explained, some are not, and some are still waiting in the darkness to be discovered. So stay curious, stay aware, and most of all, my friends, do stay safe out there. You guys have a good night. Would you mind hanging on just a few more seconds, DeeDee?
Sure.